Good afternoon. Welcome to your weekly current affairs program, 60 Minutes Nigeria. My name is Egosa Agmolao. This week's edition promises to be exciting, educative, and enlightening as well. A lot has happened in the country, and it's worth dissecting how people need to be informed on all that is happening, especially the issue of COVID-19. It is a pandemic. Now we are being told of the second wave of COVID-19, which we understand is more destructive compared to the first, when it first started. We'll be talking about it, and of course, we'll be looking at the issue of lockdown. So we are looking at COVID-19 second wave and possible lockdown. The issue of the lockdown, you'll recall when the first outbreak, there was lockdown in parts of the country, and when the lockdown was eased, Nigerians also heaved a sign of relief because of the eased lockdown. So we are warming up for a second lockdown. The federal government has assured Nigerians that they will do everything possible to ensure that a second lockdown is not imposed, is not in the offing at all, as far as the federal government is concerned. So once again, welcome. My name is Egosa Agmolao. Joining me on today's program, I have very eminent personalities. I have a community health officer with us today, Awoko Joel. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
You're welcome, sir.
We also have with us a communication strategist, and of course, President United in Democracy, a prejudicial political group in Edo State in Nigeria. And he's also the president, Christian Sports Club, just elected year 2021. Wow. Andrew, nice to have you with us today.
Good afternoon, viewers.
Okay, we also have with us a lecturer, and of course, a very seasoned analyst, Dr. Maxwell Osagi. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Egosa.
Okay.
Welcome, viewers.
Yes. So we get started. COVID-19, second wave, and of course the possible lockdown. Some Nigerians are already advising the federal government not to anticipate lockdown. And the federal government has also assured Nigerians that they are not considering a lockdown again. But is COVID-19 second wave there? Let's start with the community health officer, Awoko Joel. COVID-19 second wave, what's it all about?
Like you mentioned, the first wave was the one we encountered last year.
Okay.
And that, at first, we were hearing on the news, there is a strange disease before it was named COVID-19. And following that, the spread came to Nigeria. It was not just in Nigeria, it becomes worldwide. And as a result, the outside world were taking measures to cope the spread, and that was what resulted to the first lockdown. I think sometimes in March ending. So the activities were grounded, no schools, nothing was going on in the country. The spread was till sometimes July last year, and the reopening of schools and other activities was not coming up. For those who locked down on time, they were able to curtail the spread. But for those of us who waited until it hits hard, the spread, till now they are still feeling the effect. Now that schools have been reopened after the first wave, and churches reopened, marketplaces, every business has come to their full running
swing
or running system.
Okay.
We all have this second wave now see that the rise of the COVID is also peaking. Instead of the curve coming down, going down until we say, no, okay, now we are okay. We are seeing the curve now going up on a daily basis. And I think that's the reason why some countries are considering the second lockdown. And because we are not actually, Nigeria being who we are, we don't even believe that it exists. So because we are not sure it exists, we want to see before we before we believe. And trying to see before we believe has making the curve in the country to have actually picked up. I'm sure for the past 1 week, Nigeria has not recorded anything less than 1,000 in any of the days. Sometimes close to 2,000, 1,008. I think yes, the last one, 124 hours, about 1,300 plus. So it means we are still finding it difficult. This is not just the individual that are voluntarily coming up for screening. These are persons, 90% are those who are already sick. It's when you run the test, okay, this one is positive. So we have 1,001 out there who have not even known that they have the virus.
Okay.
But they can.
Thank you, Awoko. We'll come back to you. Let me just quickly give this information. We got this. Rivers State has reported 163 new cases of the novel coronavirus. Even as 14 more persons were confirmed dead across the country. You can see what we have there, the different states. Rivers tally made it the second most prolific virus state on Wednesday, just behind Lagos. This is as at Wednesday, just behind Lagos, the country's epicenter of the global pandemic. In an early morning tweet on Thursday, Nigerian Center of Disease Control said 22 states across the country reported a total of new 1,386 cases. Okay, we'll talk more about it, but let's get the thought of Andrew Eigalua. Yeah, looking at this second wave and of course possible lockdown. What's your take on this issue?
Well, this issue of COVID-19 pandemic is a global phenomenon. I will advise the federal government to jettison the idea of a possible lockdown. It won't do Nigeria any good other than harm. During the first lockdown that we had, if you experience it, it wasn't advantageous on us, the citizens. It was pain and anguish we saw. Many people died. Husband and wife, they lost their jobs. The youths were jobless. Crime went on the increase. Social vices, kidnapping and all that, went on the increase. So considering that, to me, the federal government should just forget about that. It is the only thing I think we should do is to try and curb the excesses of the pandemic, in the sense that we follow the guidelines of the World Health Organization. Maintain the physical distancing, wash your hands regularly, and especially this period, we Africans, we celebrate a lot. Every now and then, parties here, celebration and all that. The people celebrating occasions should try and reduce the numbers of invitees they invite to any social gathering now. Yeah. This is not a time to be flaunting wealth and all that, because to me, COVID-19 is real. My colleague was just telling us that we have a case of 1,000 today, and in the Western world, it's millions every day that they see. So it's like a tragedy over there. We are still trying to live with the thing. That's why an average Nigerian would think there's no COVID, it's malaria or advanced malaria. COVID is real. The only thing again I would want them to do is this. Yesterday I was watching news. I saw the chairman of director of POWAN was trying to sensitize the public on the need to put on their face mask and maintain social distancing. I think that is the right thing to do. But what I didn't like was that arresting people that are not with their face mask, fining them 2,000 naira to do community work. It doesn't call for that, because most of these people, citizens, they are ignorant of what is going on. It is your duty as government to tell them, look, put on your face mask, this is the effect, this is what you will get, there's a disease going on. Make them be aware. Threatening them with 2,000 fine, and it is the poor people that will still suffer these fines. They should jettison the idea. It's enlightenment. Let them know the consequences of not using face masks, the gravity of this COVID-19 and all that. I think we will just exercise patience, because the Minister of Health was saying yesterday that the vaccines we get into Nigeria maybe from April we'll start, being vaccinated. And you and I know Nigeria, when we say April, we should be talking about June or July, and that's a lot of time.
Anyway, maybe because of the severity of the problem, I might just keep to the schedule.
Even if it's still April, it's still about 3-4 months from now. Nigerians should please take this matter serious. COVID-19 is real. I've seen a family of 4 dying of COVID-19 related disease. So we should try and adhere to these simple rules and regulations. Let's see if we can be alive when the vaccines come so that we can quickly be vaccinated.
Okay, thank you very much, Andre Igalo. We'll come back to you. But let's get the thought of Dr. Maxwell Osagi. What's your take, your opening remarks?
Thank you, Ewosa.
Yeah.
There's one thing I want to let viewers know. Everything rise and fall on leadership. Now, when you look at the way the developed countries have handled this pandemic, even though it's killing their people, you will attest to the fact that their positive impact in trying to contain this virus speaks volume. And as a result, everybody could agree with me that we've not even started. Just like our co-discussant said, COVID-19 is real. So we must maintain all the principles that have been laid down, the protocols laid down, social distancing, which without, physical distancing. Let it be said that at least when you stretch your hand, you see the way I'm doing mine. So at least to help mitigate, though we cannot just eradicate it from this approach, but we can mitigate it. Then why every other step is being taken to ensure that the vaccine is out and everybody is vaccinated. However, I want to say why I use the word everything rise and fall on leadership. It's appalling when you see government, the kind of governance that we are running in this country, where we don't even care about the life of our citizens, and at the end of the day, you expect these same people to continue to contribute to the well-being of the nation. How? Currently speaking, I must tell you, see, psychologically, all of us are down. Psychologically, an average Nigeria is down on this pandemic. How? Ask me. That's the question. Now, we were saying everything came back to normal after the first wave, everything. Nothing came back to normal. Nothing came back to normal. Because if you look at us as at when we came back, October, November, and everything, nothing really happened. As we speak, some banks, have you been to a bank in recent times? Then you ask yourself, are we really doing anything to make sure that this thing is contained? Or are we in the other way around to make sure that we just have to kill these people or remain the way it is, let's punish ourselves and let's perpetually remain on that angle? But it's my prayer that the leadership wake up to their responsibility and do the needful. Give us a proper orientation. As we speak, do you see, aside the last day you saw the governor coming out to tell you face mask is compulsory and adhere to all the protocol and everything, aside the media houses, have you seen government agency coming out to say, oh, I'm the one giving this orientation to the people and everything? We are just talking about here. Have you been to our villages or the remote area in this state? Then you ask yourself, what are we doing?
Okay.
I rest there for now.
Okay, we'll come back to your opening remarks. Governments at all levels, we've seen that sensitization is what they're always talking about, because it is very important, and that's what my guests are saying, that members of the public need to be sensitized on the issue of COVID-19, and of course the guidelines, the COVID-19 protocols, how citizens should comply with the directive. Well, we have this from the Edo State government. This memo or communique was issued yesterday. The Edo State government says it has recorded 3 deaths from the second wave of COVID-19 within the last 24 hours. This was as at yesterday. It's at Wednesday, 19th, 2021. I said, okay, 20th. 3 deaths from the second wave of COVID-19 within the last 24 hours. Active cases being managed at the state's isolation and treatment centers rose to 355. The Permanent Secretary, Minister of Health, Dr. Samoei Irowa, said that the state has recorded 18 deaths so far since the onset of the second wave of the pandemic. According to him, 383 samples were taken within 24 hours from the state's various facilities. 15 of them tested positive to the virus, while 10 others were discharged on treatment, and that was on Wednesday. He stressed that the COVID-19 response team in the state had met with federal schools in the state on the minimum requirements they must meet before they can reopen for academic activities. Okay, we'll just go straight to the issue of COVID-19 and schools now. Awoko Joel, on the 18th, that was the day the federal government said schools should reopen. Some states said no, they will not reopen. And those states did not reopen. The state governor said the decision will be reviewed 1st of February. If the schools will reopen on 1st of February. Kaduna State did not open. Some other states did not open. Why others opened? Lagos State opened, Ogun State opened, schools in the FCT opened, you know. So what do you think is the right decision of government, of the federal government, for schools to reopen with this problem of COVID-19 second wave?
I think if you listen to my colleagues mentioning,
yeah,
it is just like we are beating the drum. When the drum is actually empty, the sound will go louder. If you look at the situation, the real scenario on ground, I think it is not a welcome development. I want to believe that is the pressure that the government is having that will make them to lower that standard. Say, okay, let's go and reopen. Because you hear counter accusation, the government is not allowing schools to resume because their students, their children are not going to school here, the schools abroad. So they try to say, no, that's not the reason. That, I want to personally believe that with this figure going higher every day, this is not the right time to actually have say, okay, let's open our schools. What are the measures on ground? For instance, if you go to these schools, what they tell you, for the states that are open, they tell you they have put machineries on ground to ensure that there's prevention of this community transmission of COVID-19, which are those regularly use of hand sanitizer, wash your hands regularly, 1 meter apart. Which are the classroom? Is it in government schools that this can be applied? Are they saying that they have expanded their classrooms? I went to outside the state and I saw students writing on the floor. I know we have some of the schools here who also can face similar challenges. Did they not provide chairs for them? Did they expand their buildings? Have they increased the number of teachers? Because if I was attending to 50 students or 40 students per class, and now you want me to reopen amidst this COVID-19 with 1 meter apart, it means in each of those classes, the lecturers or teachers should be multiplied. The classroom should be expanded. Are those things actually in place? So it's like we are not ready. We are not fully ready. If we were ready, it would be better for us if we prepare and get our students go back to school. But as I speak, I'm not sure. The federal government have not put anything in place. It's, apart from this media enlightenment, it's individual that is putting effort. And we want to do it. We want to do it.
Those so the federal government set up a task force. Is that not sign of? Is that not an indication of concern?
Yes.
On the part of government?
It is easier to make it paperwork.
Yeah. And we saw the footage we saw just now.
Yeah.
The schools are reopened on the 18th. You saw the COVID-19 protocols being observed.
That is the first day.
Yes.
Yes. The task force team you are sending out to work, how many of them how much did you empower them to actually carry out that activities? You see, if you say, on your mask, go, everybody will pick and be running.
Yes.
But after some time, you see people withdrawing. Some will stop running. So we'll just leave the race completely. That is how the system works. And Nigeria, the Nigeria I know, not until we have a force, a driving force behind that's preparing us to want to act, we will not want to do the right thing. The headmasters or headmistress or the owner of school proprietors who know, who are hungry, they want to open, We want to make sure, yes, you see this thing for the first, second, or 1 week. You cannot tell me that after 2 weeks you go there and you see them. The infrared thermometer will not be there. If they are there, the batteries will not work. The buckets, some of them will be broken or empty. Hand sanitizers will be exhausted. They can't continue to buy because the government, I'm not sure, they supply them this hand sanitizer as a subsidized rate. If you even have any at all, sometimes we tend to manufacture them on our own because we want to do the needful. So I think Edo State government is on the right direction by not reopening schools as at now. Yeah. But I put but because while we are looking at February 1st, at first it's far, but as we speak, we are going to go to the February 1st.
Yeah.
What other measures are we also putting in place?
Yeah, we've seen the deputy governor, the chairman of the task force in Edo State. He led other officials to different parts of Benin City to sensitize.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
People deploy some those constables now.
Yes.
Constabularies to go
to enforce the use of COVID-19 in public places.
Yes, in public places.
Okay.
That is exactly what we as Nigeria need. If not, the task force are here now. We all put on our face masks. Once they leave, we'll bring it and put it at our job. So you can't cheeks mask, not a face mask again. I want us to know we should not be protecting ourselves when the government officials are there. We should be protecting ourselves because we want to be alive. Once the government is enforcing us, it's like they are driving us. We have not come to realize the importance of that thing. If me and you know that this thing is as deep as what it is now, we don't need somebody to remind us because it is for our own good. Yeah. But we want to say the government is not trying because we, from our own end, have not been sensitized enough. I think what this program is also doing now is to enlighten the public, is to sensitize them so that we want to take this action by ourselves. It's not a government-driven. Let us not wait for the government to come and tell us wash our hands.
Okay, thank you. Andre Aloa, we're taking it further now. Yeah. We'll look at the lockdown in detail, but we noticed what happened about schools reopening, federal government order reopening of schools, 18th. So state government said no.
Well, it's because it's in this part of the world.
Okay.
That we are trying to, drag the economy down. In the advanced world, they are going to school. They are going to school. They go to their offices, but you must adhere to the rules and regulations. Put on your nose mask, maintain physical distancing. Let me tell you, in the advanced world, if you leave your house and you are not putting your face mask, you don't even need a policeman to tell you to go back. By the time you step out, you discover that everybody is putting on face masks. You go home. Because wherever you are going to, they won't allow you, they won't attend to you without your face mask. You look odd. That is for them. Then for us...
Ogun State government, let me just interject, Andre Aloha. Just yesterday, Ogun State government made that pronouncement or issued that directive. You can't go to government offices in Ogun State now without a face mask.
Not just...
That directive was issued yesterday.
Just in a bar, anywhere, the bank, any private organizations, they have been sensitized. Once, if you want to come to my shop and buy, sorry, madam, your face mask, you will go back. That is just it. So, closing down the school for them not to reopen, my brother, I don't think that is the right decision to take for now because we don't know when this pandemic is going to end. Stylishly, with the students, they've lost about a year now, from March to almost a March, a whole year calendar. And we are dragging into the second one again. Now, I applauded the state government for saying, no, we won't open the 18th. Let's see. Because the governor said, not that it's going to open on 1st of February. Let's see how it will look like. So I feel that statement is like, between now and that 1st of February, maybe machineries is being put in place on how schools can reopen. For example, a school that had 6 blocks of is it SS2 or as they call them, you have 18 to 3. Maybe they will be having morning and afternoon sections for the, the physical distances to be adhered to. A class that has 50 people, they can break into 25. 25 will come in the morning, then other 25 will come in the evening. Then right from the gate, you must put on your face mask. You must wash your hands. And there should be a monitoring team that goes around, to kind of monitor schools that are complying and those that are not complying to the COVID-19 instructions and all that. With that, then we just kind of be prayerful and see if we can manage the whole thing. Saying school should not reopen, is going to affect us. Because you and I know this pandemic, they said the second wave is even tougher than the first one from scientific angle. So when something is tougher than the first one, do you think it can be eradicated immediately? No, obviously no. And there's no cure for now. And it's just vaccination, which the world is trying to experience and grapple with. So closing that school totally to wait for. Let me tell you, these kids, they still go out. They still follow their parents to parties. They still play around. They still hug themselves. They still organize their own separate parties. They even fight themselves on the street. You see them. Is it by staying at home to stop them from going to school? That
so go hawking.
They go hawking.
To do street trading.
They are still going about
They
their businesses.
refuse to remain at home, which
home.
ought to be government's intention.
So it is not being achieved. Let them go back to school and put all those machinery in place and set up a monitoring team that will be going from school to see if the measures put in place is being adhered to. That is my take on it. They should go back to school.
Okay. Dr. Maswa?
Yeah. Egosa, do you want us to be critical on this particular aspect of the analysis?
Yeah, you can make your personal opinion.
Okay. Where everything I'm going to say here today is my personal opinion.
Okay.
It has no link to the station or anybody. But however, there are several schools of thoughts as we speak. There are several schools of thought as we speak concerning this reopening or no reopening. I'm so happy with, I deviate, not just a bit, I deviate totally from what Dr. Joy stands for.
Officer.
Okay, officer.
Community health officer.
I deviate totally that school should remain locked, and as a result, because judging by the statistics, given, even when the school is still locked, we still have issues of the number increasing. I want to go back to memory lane. Sir, you agree with me? When the electioneering processes were on, did we see any rising figure? We did see NCDC coming out to say this is dangerous for our society or dangerous to our health. But rather you saw a figure coming down in the midst of crowd. In fact, that crowd you saw during the electioneering process is even much more than the school activity.
But in Edo State, there was increased testing. They have different centers where you could test. Probably that accounted for that.
I think that was before the election. No, that stopped before the election. That stopped before the election.
I said probably because of increased testing.
Not really. See, I've said this before. If there is election today, you will not see any rise of. See, Anambra is coming. And I will tell you by the time, they've announced the calendar right now. By the time you see an Anambra electionary campaign, you will see a drastic drop. I'm not trying to fault the institution involved. I understand that COVID-19 is real, but using that as a detriment to the economy is an issue. See, take it or you leave it. Homesickness is much more now. When I say homesickness, remember Mr. Andrew said something about social vices, etc. If you follow the statistic of the period to which the first lockdown was enacted, down to when they now open it. Go back to history. Go and read different newspaper and find out that different father and different uncles were impregnating their children. A lot of social vices that you will look at and say, this, in fact, the glory, you know, Bible referred to when the glory of the Lord left, and he said, anikabo. So to us, we call that a kind of a big issue. So creating a lockdown or telling us, you are saying there is no lockdown. Right now there is a lockdown. Because if you look at the statistics of the people that work with private school are much more than those in government school. Take it or you leave it.
Of course.
Now these people, they cannot feed, no January salary as we speak. What are the measures that have been put on ground to take care of them? Now I do not just want to agree totally that is as a result of the rise of COVID-19. I love the governor so well. I love him. He's hearing me now. Sir, I love you. But I need not to be sentimental about this. But there are several schools of thought that the reason why we have to move our resumption a bit forward is as a result of the impending crisis that was being nursed by what? By the now, yes, I just feel now, okay, how can a governor that just got an award of just a year ago from the same AUT, right now, the same AUT has gone into strike as a result of certain things and everything. I felt, in my opinion, with the school of thought that is also outside, that yes, the governor was just trying to buy time as a result of the crisis from between the government and the NUT. But however, I want to agree that you shouldn't use one thing to punish everybody. Now, if you talk about the protocol, people being adhering to protocol, I've never read that the schools in developed country, they now build extra classrooms. So have you heard? If I
still there.
To the best of my knowledge, I've not heard that they increase classroom and the student. As we speak, we see my friend just traveled December. They still accommodate people from other country for their schools and everything. How much more we that are just enclosed in here and we are saying we shouldn't open? And what do we need to do? But my point is this. If a governor, see, sir, this is how Oshomole era started. First time we clap for him and everything. Now suddenly, second time, we started seeing policies that are detrimental to our economy, detrimental to our system, putting people into quagmire and not bringing out the best out of it.
But this is a national issue.
No, this is not. If it's a national issue, Abuja, if it's a national issue, our figure is not up to the one of Abuja. True of us.
Now, Dr. Maxwell,
yes.
Before you continue,
yes,
you said this is your personal opinion. But before you continue, it is important that our viewer understand that it's not only Edo State that did not reopen on the 18th of January.
Fine.
I told you, Kaduna State insisted that they will not open.
Yes.
So we are not aware of Kaduna State governor having any problem with NUT.
No. So I want to take you back to that Kaduna State. No, I want to take you back to that
Kaduna State. There are some other states too.
No,
that did not open.
You see, there's one.
But all the same. Dr. Maxwell, you've made your point.
Okay.
You've said something that COVID-19 is real.
Yes.
And I believe that the governor has his reasons of assuring the people that 1st of February his decision will be reviewed. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I can see that Awoko Joel is hitching to make his point. Okay, you have the floor now.
Doc, I'm just taking time
before
the COVID-19 to see the classroom setting in the developed country.
Yes.
Can you compare those classrooms to the ones we have in Nigeria, particularly in Edo State? I want to be specific. Ugbekun Primary School.
That's government.
If you want us to leave the government schools, let's go to private.
Yeah. No, they don't mention the name of private school.
No,
just mention private. Yes, private.
Okay.
Some of the private schools are more in a closed environment than that of the government schools. They are more populated than that of the government schools. The figures there are high. You cannot compare the hours we spend in a campaign ground. Hey, ACP, DDB, all the party mentioned, we'll work together, we'll drink together, we'll go home. You want to compare that with 6, 7, at least more than 4 hours the student will be closed in. In the classroom, it is tight. In the playground, you see students not, because the problem is not even the developed country you are saying, we cannot measure up with the developed country. In fact, the facilities there, their classroom is far, far different from ours. You cannot be in a classroom in a developed country attending to 40 students. I tell you, in most of our schools, one teacher will be attending to like 50, 60 students at a time. Not just the number now, but the tight environment where they are. In a bench made for 3, you see 6 persons sitting. They can't even write. That is the schools we have. We will say government school because they are cheap, they are cheaper, and it's the one we can afford. Then too, when we talk about the political environment, because during campaign, people were crowding, you see them crowding. They go out once in a day, and maybe for one day they visit 2, 3 ward campaigning. The figure, this second wave of COVID-19 has not come during that campaign. That is the truth. It was at that particular time, the curve was going down, even worldwide. But as we speak, the curve is rising without those campaigning stuff. The curve is also growing up without school reopening. If we now reopen schools and want to see that, okay, let's see how we manage the situation when the machineries are not fully on ground. The international communities that we want to emulate, because those ones, they are in session, even amidst the pandemic, they have the facilities. If you are sick, you go there, they attend to you. Which are the facilities, apart from these few ones we have, that can actually accommodate? You know how many US have lost due to this COVID-19? Over 400,000. This is an America that ordinarily, if you tell them 2 souls, 2 American citizens want to die, they don't mind. They spend like 1 month's budget to go and deliver them. They are helpless in this situation. So, should we risk our own to that of those developed countries? No. The students are not even conscious at all, especially students. They are not conscious of the COVID. Because we, their parents, are not even aware that we don't want to believe. We're always saying COVID exists because every other person is believing that COVID exists. How many of us can actually wear face masks? Our children know daddy will always wear face masks. Mommy will always wear face masks. If that's what I'm saying, give the face mask to the child, don't talk. Put it in the face, in the nose, let him leave the house. Before you drive from your house to the school, the child has even thrown it away. Okay. He has thrown it away. They can even collect it from the other person and want to size it with their own.
We'll come back to you. But let's get the thought of Andre Igaloa. Now, yes, we've made our comments rather on this issue of reopening of schools. Some states are reopened, but don't you think there's a problem that there's no unity? Federal government making one pronouncement, other state governments making their own pronouncement on one issue. Does it all go well for the development of the country?
You are right.
Okay.
This issue of COVID-19 pandemic is global. So if any country is tackling it in whatever measure, once the federal government speaks, so be it. Because we are one Nigeria. In a situation where federal government will speak, state government will now say, no, we are doing this, we are doing that. It doesn't call for unity, like you just said. So I should, expect the government to go back to the drawing board, and before they pronounce any statement or make any policy, they should sit down and dialogue and arrive at a particular policy or decision that will move the state forward. Because, like you rightly said, some states are going to school, some are not going, and at the end, these same states that are going and the ones that are not going, they will still write the WAEC at the same time. So tell me, What's going to be the outcome of the results when they brought? Because no matter what, even if you stay at home to study and all that, there's not like staying, meeting your teachers physically and your fellow classmates, you know, group work and all that to bring out the best in you.
What of virtual learning?
That is totally out of it. I don't call virtual learning. It's just you and self. You know that, like we are interacting now, we are learning from each other. Have you ever been in a group assignment? You talk, I talk, we bring ideas, we discuss, and we arrive at something. But if you do it alone, how do you get the best from that situation? So I still think if all schools are to be closed, let all schools close. And once federal government has said no, on the particular date, school must resume, everybody must resume, and put your machinery in place and let everybody go back to class, because at the end, they are all coming to write one exam, and it will affect some states. So I think, like the governor rightly said, 1st of February is under probability. But to me,
the policy will be reviewed.
That is under probability. That's why I said under probability. He didn't say they should not open on the 18th, but February 1st they should open. Under probability, reviewed. So they're going to sit down. They might open or they might not. Okay. I use opportunity to speak with the federal, the state government, and the government especially to allow the children to go back to school and make sure the machinery is put in place for these children to actually go to school. Cancel break time, these recreational hours, assembly, and just go straight to your class and reduce the population in the class. I think those are measures. Like I suggested before, if a class of about 50 persons, you can have it to 25, then maybe some people can come in the morning. Then we were doing afternoon sessions when we were going to school because of the population. It can still be adapted just for some time to be able to fight this deadly disease. Otherwise, the reverse will be the case. At the end, we will be dying of ignorance and not because of the disease anymore. That is my take on the issue.
Okay, we are going to talk about the issue of lockdown shortly. Okay, because lockdown is one issue that the citizens are really considering. They're looking at it. So that's the issue we should look at now. So we'll just come back straight to Dr. Maxwell. But before we get the thought of Dr. Maxwell, we want to reiterate. You can see this is my face mask. We all agreed. Andre Alua said it is important, we must obey COVID-19 protocols. So we are advising our viewer, all citizens, make sure you put on your face mask. If you notice in the studio here, there's social distancing. It's very important. So dangerous.
Indeed, I think I listened to NDC on this matter that we actually do not. The kind of second is more deadly than the other one is the rapid way of spreading. Okay. That is actually the issue and everything. So having said that, there shouldn't be lockdown. There is no need for lockdown. Because if you look at, I agree with my doc when he was saying that the figures are rising, COVID-19 is real. It is real and it is real. But how do we stop it? Okay. We cannot continue.
Obeying COVID-19 protocols.
Now, how do we face it squarely? Government agency who responsible in terms of educating the general masses of how to live with this thing should wake up to their responsibility. Yeah. So churches and other organizations who, by virtue of their status, have larger more in educating their people. Now, having said that, I'm sorry, we are obeying the protocol.
Yes, they hear you. Yes, they understand.
Now, having said that, see, the point is this. In as much lockdown is the best measure of it. I follow pandemic and I discovered that one of the best measures they use in solving it or putting everything down is by this lockdown, and everybody over time, because if you cannot spread it to me, I cannot spread it to the other person. Certainly the virus will die a natural death. Now, but it does not just stop there. I want to beg. It's not the way forward. So let's do enough to educate our people. I know that most private schools, it's just that we cannot just start mentioning schools now. Most private schools as we speak, have all these measures in place. The people that are giving us this headache is the same government and government school. So if government cannot put their house in order, why use your own challenge to affect your next neighbor? For the fact that I cannot eat cup of rice, does it make me start punishing my friend that you should also not eat cup of rice? So we should wake up. At least, see, there is no need of saying on the first, we will not review. I actually look at the body language of the governor. Do you know how many people common malaria kill every day with the drug? And do you know how many people that have died in the Northeast every day?
Okay.
So if we take all these statistics, we should thank God it's not a death sentence. If peradventure you put your house in order, if I am affected, I come to you, you treat me and I go back to my home. We see the EPA on. Match will be played in tomorrow. Once they are sick, they go back, isolate for 10 days.
In some states now, they've banned viewing centers.
So you just,
no more football viewing centers in some states.
Leave school. You said something. It says school is not a carrier of COVID-19. Can we adhere to the body that is saddled with that responsibility of giving us what education and every other thing has to do with our children and everything?
Thank you very much.
My appeal.
Thank you. It's a wonderful appeal, and you've made your point. That's the program, but just closing remark. 1 minute. Awoko Joel, Community Health Officer. Just one word. Remark.
I want to appeal to the public. Before the governor think of possibly reopening the school or locking down the entire system, it is our body language. If, for instance, on our daily activity, our daily routine, all of us as an adult, we're able to wear face masks. Nobody is reminding us to wear face masks. That alone will communicate to our children that this thing is real, and they also need to get used to how to use their face mask to break the transmission. If we all do that, nobody will be thinking of locking down schools, closing down shops, viewing centers. But because we will not do that, that's the reason why the lockdown is coming. It's like you fail to do the right thing, and I'm saying you ought to have done this. You are not doing it, and I'll not be the one forcing or putting a barrier. Like I drive the town today, about 20% of the population on the streets are even holding face masks. Before this week, you hardly see somebody with face mask, despite the announcement.
Thank you.
So if we continue that way, we may not have any other thing than to face the lockdown.
Okay.
But if we all strictly adhere to COVID-19 protocols, I think we may not get to lockdown.
Thank you. Closing remark, Andre Galua, just 1 minute.
I want to appeal to the Edo State government, especially the governor, to reconsider reopening the school. Let them reopen first of all, let the children go back to school. COVID-19 is not a death sentence. They should go back to school and make sure they sensitize the people on how to avoid contracting this dreaded disease. Wash your hands regularly, maintain physical distancing, avoid crowded places. If you don't have any business going out, stay indoors. That is my take.
Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this week's edition of the program, 60 Minutes Nigeria. We have been looking at the issue of COVID-19 second wave and, of course, possible lockdown. I hope you've enjoyed my guests. They've made their personal opinions known, and all their comments are very personal, not a reflection of independent television. Thanks for being a part of this week's edition. Keep a date with me. Next week, we'll be looking at another national issue. Bye-bye.
This is ITV.